Thank you very much for coming again, ladies and gentlemen, to this class. So we stopped here last time, and we talking about now the class of socio-economy and community development as part of the MSc for Inspiration Economy. Now, last time we mentioned that it is that we need to see how case studies can work for solving socio-economic problems, in the same time improving the inspiration in the community. One of the examples will be the education reform. For example, we can reform the education by seeing, for example, what are the challenges of not having students that are inspired or inspiring. And we'll find that, for example, most of the solutions that is taken, usually it is about students' grades. Well, what we are talking about and focusing on is in Inspiration Labs, is how we can bring the teachers, the students, and the parents to co-design a passion curriculum. And this means that we need to have reverse thinking in how we shift, for example, the students or the parents or the teachers from being focused on improving the grades, on being focused more on how to ignite the curiosity. This means that we'll have an outcome that usually will help the students to be highly engaged in the community, and even some will launch their own community projects to solve certain socioeconomic problems. You can imagine if all the students have different socioeconomic problems, we would not have such chronic or complex problems in the communities. Now, thus we need to think, and again, of the key tools to use, for example, like mind mapping, how we link community assets, for example, the parks, the libraries, to the needs of the community. We need to think about, for example, again, the differential diagnosis, how we identify root causes. Why do farmers, for example, struggle? Is it about soil depletion, or is it about lack of tools, or is it about not enough water, and so on? So this is another way of, again, solving the community problems or creating development projects. We think also we should use about the abundance thinking, how we mobilize, for example, underutilized resources. For example, why don't we use retirees today, which are very high, especially in the developing countries, and how we make them tutors for the community, so that we, let's say, minimize the learning curve and speed it up. At the same time, we can improve the, again, the quality of life of the retirees. So for that, we say that we need to sustain inspiration as part of community development. Sustaining inspiration means ensuring initiatives outlive funding. So the more we have initiatives, we can overcome the weight of funding, and we can bring more solutions to the community. One of it will be, example, a community garden that is managed by residents. So these are example of how we the garden is managed by the residents itself. So now the inspiration currency will focus on reward participation with non-monetary incentives. For example, public recognition and skill badges. The more we do public recognition, the more we will have more incentives for people to give more and more. So there are questions to guide our socio-economic problems. For example, what hidden strengths exist in the community? How can we reframe problems as opportunities? What small experiment labs we can run to test the solutions? Who can influence change without formal power? So this is an example of how we start to question, for example, how we can solve a problem in the community, or how we can develop the community. By applying these tips, the community development becomes collaborative. People will get together and they will have inspired process, and they will align with the inspiration economy handbook, which is we publish in 2016. So for that, we need to think, when we talk about socio-economic and community development, we should think about the meaning of wealth of an inspiration economy. Because wealth for inspiration economy comes from the way we empower people, the way we make people discover their internal strength, the way they again do and bring solutions by learning by doing, or learning by exploring, or learning by failure. And this means that they need to focus more on social psychology that would lead to a more successful models, that would lead to a community development and resilience in socioeconomic capacity. The more we raise actually the capacity to see the non-financial wealth, the more we are going to exploit the hidden or underutilized opportunities within the community or the problem. And this is what we call it exploitation of intrinsic powers or intrinsic strength. So inspiration economy focus on currency of inspiration that targets to create influence without power. To bring influence without power, it means that we need to have a specific complex problem identified, socioeconomic problem. We need to have a specific way of observing the problems. We need to see opportunities and currencies, and we need to actually work on the actual outcome without again being dependent on lots of resources or lots of power. From helping communities to inspiring communities is one of the goals of inspiration economy. And this means that communities will have many complex socioeconomic problems. For example, we need to identify these socioeconomic problems. We need to make the community know how to come out from a specific problems. For example, a complex problem like poverty, like youth migration, like high unemployment, like again, lots of retirees that is missing their quality of life and so on. This means that we need to deal with the rise of violence, and we need to deal with, again, young people who can't see the future in their countries. We need also to, again, overcome the rise, for example, of certain challenges like homeless people and so on in certain areas. We need to, again, work on the people with disabilities, especially those affecting the problem, the community development. We need to develop our local economy and create new jobs, and thus control of resources for community problem solving. Many community problems can only be addressed if a wider partnership of local people works together. And this means that schools, for example, cannot succeed without the efforts of the teachers and the parents and the students, beside the neighbors. If they work together, they will make inspiring community. And this means that we can create safe communities through, for example, bringing the police, the city officials, the neighborhood groups, all to work together. Now, for that, we believe that community development can be done through inspiration labs, which can be managed to solve more than 300 complex problems in different communities, and also give creative alternative approaches to exploiting the opportunities from the complex and wicked problems. And this means that we have to have more belief that poverty elimination or complex problem can be tackled using communities' own resources. These problems are turned now into published papers, case studies, and books to support preparing inspiration labs and socioeconomic experts that would lead to develop and sustain this initiative in the future and spread again the concepts further in developing countries. For that, we believe that, for example, we need to have different approaches in creating socioeconomic change. For example, we are using the approach of having projects or doing research and publication or conducting forums or conferences or creating competitions or doing academic programs. All these 5 approaches, they are supported by site visits, or what we call it exploratory visits. Now, we need to have like a checklist for these approaches. For example, one of the things we have to do is to identify interested parties in the country or in the that can provide the visit and or can support the visit outcome. So it might be let's say the hosting organization decide. Also, we need to work on the type of the visits expected. Is it exploratory visit? Is it a project visit? Is it again a visit that we focus on follow-up? Or is it forum visit? Or is it a workshop visit? Or is it a competition visit? So planning the visits means that timing is suitable for all type of people that are going to be involved. And this means that we also, when we do the projects, we'll have all the concerned parties being represented in the project. And when we do define again the areas that we are working on, then it means that we will have all the concerned parties working together to solve the problem or to find the opportunities within the problem. I think I will stop here, and thank you very much for that. Thank you.